这一次是光天化日之下偷天换日，把美国司法部所有的 Trustee 和共产党的勾兑，这个 PAG 在美国人面前表演了一次共产党多牛 ，PAG 多牛。我能让司法部委任的 Trustee， 我找个理由把他干掉，换成我的马仔。PAS 厉害吧？能让你郭文贵从纽约南区法官这儿不经过判决，不经陪审团简易判决，让你2亿多美金，然后七哥申请破产，我不让你破产，好，我说我不破产是吧？然后家人支持我破产，不让你破产，好，我同意不破产，不破产也不行。最后申请 Trustee， 人家指定了一个，就是美国司法部指定了一个完全德高望重的一个人，共和党人，不行。最后 PAS 以这个人有 conflict 利益冲突，是什么原来的一个律师叔叔，一个曾经到他所干过，你说这王八蛋逻辑啊！结果指定了一个叫 Paul Hasting 是在中共国代理什么阿里巴巴、币安、什么潘石屹，而且是 PAG 房地产 PAG 这个并购的法律律师，这不是利益冲突了，他就是一伙的，他是亲爹跟儿子的关系啊，上千个律师啊，指定为七哥的所谓的 Trustee。啥叫 Trustee 知道吗？就没有七哥了，就七哥的内裤、袜子什么东西，他有权给拿走，就这么厉害。
So, good morning, good afternoon, and good evening. Welcome to the CCP Reality Check. This live stream is a special episode, and I am your host, David Starwatcher.
Hello, everyone. This is Nancy from the state of China with Washington, D.C. farm. Glad to join.
Hi, I'm your co-host, Sam. I'm also from Himalaya, Washington, D.C. farm. Glad to speak with you guys.
I'm also from Himalaya, Washington, D.C. farm. Very honored and very happy to join with our co-host, Nancy and Sam tonight. So for tonight, we are going to look into the infiltration of the CCP regime into the United States legal system. So without further ado, we are going to look into the slides. Director, please bring up to the audiences, viewers, to take a look. Before that, we have to look at this as a disclaimer statement, just to make sure that everything we say does not form any legal advices and does not become any legal opinion. They're just for your educational or informative purposes only, and it's very important for you to conduct your own research or consult. Okay, let's move on to the next slide. So for tonight's episode, we are looking into how CCP infiltrates the United States judicial system, and we are using the case here, a bankruptcy case of Mr. Miles Gore, as an example. The case number is listed on the slide, which is number 22-50073. And if you are interested in looking into the case yourself, you are very welcomed to log into the website pacer.uscourts.gov to buy the original documents, the documents of the case by yourself. Thank you. Let's move on to the next slide. Okay. So this episode, as we already see, we are going to talk about why the United States Department of Justice Trustee's Office. 2 points we're looking into. One is the unprecedented process to withdraw a qualified trustee. And the second part we are looking into is the conflict of interest different standards that applied on to trustees. Now let's move on to the next one to see what's really going on here. Let's first take a very brief introduction about this case. This is a bankruptcy case of Mr. Miles Gore, and this entire case is actually follow the rule of the Chapter 11 of the Bankruptcy Code. And if you want to look into the United States Code, it's in Title 11 of the United States Code. This case, as we see in the little red rectangle on the right, it's filed on February the 15th, 2022. And this case is assigned to Judge Julie A. Manning of the United States Bankruptcy Court, District of Connecticut, parenthesis, Bridgeport. Let's move on to see what's going on next. So, according to what we see here, that this entire case, 2250073, the bankruptcy case of Mr. Miles Gore, was filed in accordance to Chapter 11 of the Bankruptcy Code. On June the 15th, that is the process of the case. On June the 15th, the case was confirmed by the court to go with Chapter 11 bankruptcy. And at this stage, it is pending to appoint a trustee. And then, the next one, please. And then, as the part of the process of the case, this gentleman here, Joe D. Whitley, from Womble Bond Dickinson, LLP, was appointed by Department of Justice, United States Trustee Program as a trustee of this bankruptcy case. And this, as we see in the slide at this particular, at this place, this affidavit was signed on June the 30th. And let's take a look, next one. But for a known reason and unprecedented process, the United States Trustee Program decided to withdraw the already appointed Joe D. Whitley on July the 5th. So at this point, things started becoming a little bit strange. And we already, as you're already looking, if you want to see where the problem is, you can look at the 1104D, which is supposed to on the slide. If you find it very hard for you to look into, you can just simply enlarge the screen to take a look at the rules inside it. Nancy, I think you have something additional to share with the audiences?
Source that I share with the audience after we hear court hearings that was recorded on July the 5th. July 5th was when Judge Julie Manning was aware of the removal of Joe D. Whitley as a trustee. The removal was Holly Clariband from U.S. Trustee. As we all know, U.S. Trustee Office is a subsidiary of the we can access the court hearing video and case progress via PACER uscourts.gov. Let's get back to the comments Judge Manning made during the hearing on July. Withdrew to U.S. Trustee Office to Holly Clariband. The comments was made was the whole process does not make any sense. And either U.S. trustee or have a vote prior to appointing someone. So U.S. office had appointed Joe D. Whitley, and Joe D. Whitley said he has accepted the appointment, disinterested. So U.S. trustee office can't then just say withdraw. And what makes people connect when there is an unprecedented process applied to withdraw. What do you think?
What the judgment is, you know, there is a difference between withdrawal and removal. Since at this moment, you know, the gentleman Joe Whately had already sworn in with, so the DOJ trustee office cannot just withdraw him, because this gentleman, he's under the liability, because if you withdraw, so he's still liable for the so I mean, he is sworn in, or he will have to face a penalty of perjury. So there is a big difference between withdrawal and removal. So what Manning meant is, you know, the trustee office did this without a precedent.
Now, so let's now looking at here in this slide, there are listed are the conditions of the removal of the trustees according to the rules, or remove or withdraw. 3 conditions must be met, as we see in the screen. Number 1, die, which is the remove, which just means the death of the trustee. Second condition is the resignation. And the third one is the withdrawal, but this withdrawal must be agreed by both parties and approved by the court. So in this particular case here, as you see, as we can all see in the little red circle area, death does not happen, resignation does not happen either. So what about the third? The third says does not apply. So so from what we saw here, at least, none of these conditions are being met. So let's continue to see what's going on. Okay, so this is a very important one. So on July the 7th, the United States Trustee Program appointed Luc A. Despins as trustee. And as we saw here, Luc A. Despins signed the affidavit to become a trustee of the case. So let us continue to see what happened. So you see, we all see here are 2 processes of the trustees' appointment process. So the removal process, as we saw for Joe D. Whitman, the person who's on the left, the removal process started on July the 5th. And then Judge Manning asked on July the 5th that why no reasons were provided to withdraw the trustee. And she also asked why no hearing. So you see, as we can pay attention to the right column, the most right column here, in the red circle, court hearing, both creditor, debtor agree, and court hearing with these 3 processes for the nomination of Luc A. Despins. No, that didn't happen. But you see on the left for the Jody Whitman, so you see the appointment process, all 3 of them, court hearing, creditor, debtor agree, and court hearing with, they all happened. So let's continue to take a look on the first trustee, Joe Whitley. So Mr. Joe D. Whitley, he is actually, and he's still a partner of the Womble Bond Dickinson, the LLP we've just mentioned in the previous slide. The Womble Bond Dickinson has 1,000 lawyers located in 27 offices in the United Kingdom and the United States of America, which means, of course, across the pond. And the entire saying the withdrawal of Joe on July the 5th is an unprecedented. It's actually an unprecedented process, as we have already seen in the previous slides. And then the conflict of interest was provided on July the 6th. Now we have to look into this Luc A. Despins, so we have to continue. Okay, so for Luc A. Despins, this is very important now. Luc A. Despins works for Paul Hasting, LLP, and with around 1,000 attorneys employed with 21 officers. So for this particular trustee nomination here, he actually accepted the appointment on July the 7th. And he signed the affidavit on July the 7th and claimed by himself that there is no interest of conflict. Luc Despins also provided additional disclosure on July the 8th to the court hearing about Paul Hasting's connection with the PAX, which is the plaintiff. And PAX plaintiff, the full name here, if you wanted to know, it's called the Pacific Alliance Asia Opportunity Fund. Nancy, I think you want to add something here?
Yeah, thanks for providing all the background on the presidential removal of Joe Manning, which is the qualified trustee, and then surprisingly skipped all the appoint Luc Despins. And then after the appointment, signed the affidavit, Luc Despins has revealed that the firm that he is a partnership with, Paul Hasting, is connected with the parental company with PAX. So while everyone was still astonished, include these unprecedented removal of Joe Withdrew, I was wondering why Withdrew was withdrawn. Seems to be the reason that the case has provided seems to be conflict of interest. Seems to be was used in the court hearing. That's interesting to me. This shouldn't be shown up in our official case why it was removed under a incidental process. And then the fact that the interest, conflict of interest provided is the firm Joe Withdrew is employed, hired someone recently, used to work for which is the defendant's son's company years ago. And this was compared to what Mr. Despins, he revealed himself after he signed the affidavit that he is partnered with. He's a partner of Holdings, which has direct business relationship with PAG, which is the parental company of plaintiff. So it's so obvious that the conflict of interest of Mr. Despins is more direct and impactful compared to Mr. Withdrew's. So what do you think, Sam? Who drives these different standards seems to be between Mr. Despins' appointment and then the withdrawal of conflict of interest of Mr. Withdrew?
Yeah, it does not make any sense to me why there is a obvious double standard apply here. Also, as you point out, if you claim that Joe Withdrew has some kind of a conflict of interest with the the stakeholders, But you know, the Luc Despins, I mean, has a more direct and just as you point out, a more impactful, like influence to or a conflict of interest to tax, which is a plaintiff, right? So it seems this one does not make any sense to me. And as to my memory, what makes Manning or Julie Manning are kind of like are worry about is, you know, the whole process is not transparent at all. So until the July 4th, or when they discussed about the change of the trustee, at that very moment, like the judges still thought the trustee was Joe Witty. She was not aware that they already changed or proposed to change. So it's a surprise, big surprise to her. So this, you know, I think this does not make any sense.
I agree with what Sam. Sam, thank you very much for your input. Well, also thank you, Nancy, for bringing up that very important point. Well, since Luc A. Despins, and since there's actually one important thing called conflict of interest are being brought up here. So let's look at the side of Luc A. Despins to see what his connection with the PAG is. Let's take a look. So here we are going to looking at Luc A. Despins along with the Paul Hasting's direct connections to the PAX, which is the Pacific Alliance Asian Opportunity Fund. So, without further ado, let's continue. Now, this is very interesting. Take a look at the picture here, shown on the screen. This person is called Luc A. Despins, and he, in this entire screenshot of the website, which is taken from Paul Hasting's LLP, he is listed as partner, and with another introduction says he belongs to the corporate department. Well, and this is basically that basically shows that he is a partner of the said Paul Hasting's LLP. Also, if we can just continue. Okay, now we saw here that this is actually just paying attention to the background of this to see the title of this entire PowerPoint, which says this is the title of a news called Paul Hasting's led PAG makes $671 million bid for Spring REIT. Now the thing is, take a look. Paul Hasting's led PAG. So basically means that Paul Hasting's, I mean, if you're looking into the story here closely, that is actually saying the Paul Hasting's is involved in the PAG's takeover of the Spring REIT. So that means that at least from what we saw here, they do have connections. They do, and the Paul Hasting's has been working for the PAG in the past. And also there's something more. Let's continue. So let's just enlarge it to the full screen so the audiences can see. So this is actually entire saying the graph of the relationship PAX, Pacific Alliance Asia Opportunity Fund, which is the PAX, is actually a subsidiary of the PAG, which is the Pacific Alliance Group. And also, as we show in this particular diagram, Paul Hasting's has direct business relationship with the PAG, which is the Pacific Alliance Group. And we have to say the conflict of interest of the Paul Hasting's against the defendant is therefore obvious. Wait, there's more. Continue. About the Paul Hasting's, not only that, saying now this is actually another entity called Jinshan Bank, and for Jinshan Bank, saying one of the key shareholders of Jinshan Bank is the Harvest Fund founded by Bruno Wu. So you might be wondering, what is the relationship between the Jinshan Bank, Harvest, the Jinshan Bank, the Harvest Fund, and the Paul Hastings? Continue. We will then show it to you. Now it's very clear. Now let's take a look at the picture of the left. So as we see, this is the Jinshan Bank's the corporate information here. In the bottom left corner, Paul Hasting is listed as a legal advisory to Jinshan Bank in Hong Kong. And the said Jinshan Bank is connected to the CCP. And also, if you see the relationship graph on the right, now we can connect the Harvest Fund, Jinshan Bank, and Paul Hastings together, which basically saying that Paul Hastings is also involved with the Jinshan Bank and the Harvest Fund, which is controlled by Bruno Wu, saying that Bruno Wu is his entire Harvest Fund is involved with the Jinshan Bank. And Bruno Wu is one of the creditors. So that basically means that Paul Hastings' conflict of interest has another layer to looking into. So you may wonder, who is Bruno Wu, or what is so special about him, and what is these people's relationship with the CCP? Next slide, please. Voila, 6611 registration statement. This is actually a FARA registration form of Bruno Wu, which is the gentleman you've just seen in the previous slide. FARA, in case you wanted to know what it is, you can see it, which is written on the screen, which is the Foreign Agents Registration Act of 1938. And Bruno Wu is registered with the Department of Justice as a foreign agent. His entire registration number is 6611. That means Bruno Wu, from what we see here, is an agent of the CCP regime. So there's more. Continue. This complicated graph actually shows us the personnel involved in CCP unrestricted lawfare against Mr. Miles Guo. As you see here, 1, 2, 3, there's a lot of people getting involved. But since there are so many people to talk about, we decide to put them to the next episode. So please stay tuned for the next episode of the special series of the CCP Reality Check. Continue, please. So that reaches the end of tonight's special series live stream of the CCP Reality Check. This is the first episode. So before we conclude our live stream, I would like to ask Nancy and Sam if you have anything to add or any question to ask before we conclude today's live stream.
Thanks, Sam, for a great show tonight. We look forward for tomorrow night's episode. More.
Okay, so thank you very much, Nancy. So before we end this, today's entire live stream, I would like to quickly briefing about the special date of today's date. Today is actually the fifth year of the death of Liu Xiaobo, the very famous 2010 Nobel Peace Prize laureate, Liu Xiaobo was persecuted and jailed, imprisoned by the CCP regime, and he passed away 5 years ago this day, on July the 13th, 2017. So for that is the end of today's live stream. But as I always say, the CCP is evil. The Chinese people are the victims of the CCP, and we Chinese are taking down the CCP. Thank you very much for joining us for the special series tonight. Stay tuned and please take a look on the next episode which is the episode 2, for tomorrow night around 10 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. Thank you very much for joining us. We will see you tomorrow.
Thank you.
Bye.
Thank you.
本花一朵，被拐骗山中，从此亲人永相隔。究竟20年，我受尽了折磨，这个世界不要我，醒来吧，别再如此冷漠。来吧，抛掉所有懦弱，只为了给我的亲人手，要埋葬那些恶的种种，牙齿全拔落，铁锁已斑驳，这就是我的一生。不醒来，还在梦里游走，又是第一座竹沟。我本花一朵，被拐骗山中，从此亲人永相隔。究竟20年，我受尽了折磨，这个世界不要我，醒来吧，别再如此冷漠。来吧，抛掉所有懦弱，只为了紧握住亲人手，要埋葬那些恶的种种。
我们不能再做梦了，我们要行动，行动，行动！干掉共产党！干掉共产党！干掉共产党！干掉共产党！干掉共产党！干死共产党！干死共产党！干死共产党！干死共产党！要埋葬那些恶的种种，牙齿全拔落，铁锁已斑驳，这就是我的